Good day, listeners. This is the WOMS, the Wide World of Motorsports. I am your host, Mike Wallace, and I'm here with none other than
James
Mr.
Jordan
James
here.
Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
Hot off his fantastic weekend at CTMP. We will definitely get into that in a little bit. First, some of the places you can check us out.
Or
All
are
the
listening
typical
to
places.
us on
Or are listening
right
to us
now,
on
live.
right now, live, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, any other podcast platform. Honestly, I don't know the other ones. I'm sure there's lots of them, but you can find us on all of those. You can also find us on the radio, CKMS 102.7 Radio Waterloo in the Kitchener-Waterloo region. That's Southern Ontario, Canada, for some of you who are more southern. CFMH 107.3 local FM, new to be broadcasting us in New Brunswick, right? So that's really
St. John.
Yeah, so
Everybody,
that's
all
big
the
news.
people in St. John and the Bay of Fundy, send us some donaires, please.
Just like the Pinty series, we have headed east.
Yes.
So that is CFMH 107.3
The WOM's
local
hitting the
FM.
east. Thank you, everyone out there.
Yes,
CFMH
that's
and
Saturdays
our
at 1
listeners out
o'clock.
there.
Saturdays at 1 o'clock, you can hear both of us talk. Performance Motorsports Network, you can find us on there. And of course, you can find us on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the WOMS,
At the WWOMS.
at the WWOMS. I always forget that stuff. I don't know why. I should remember it, but I always forget
The
it.
handles.
But I always remember the www.thewideworldofmotorsports.wordpress, and I hate it. I don't know. Jordan hates it. James hates it. So we need some help to get rid of it.
Yeah, we can. There's a chance that we could do that right now by talking about your sponsor or whatever, something that you believe in. No, no cults, no cults. But yeah, hit us up on our.
But definitely anything by L. Ron Hubbard. Totally welcome. Totally welcome.
Or preferably anything from Tom Cruise. Yeah, so same,
That's
same
true.
thing, right?
Single tooth. Single tooth. Yeah, so
at our email address, so you can get us at it's
what's that?
Wide World of Motorsports at gmail.com. No the at the beginning, just Wide World of Motorsports at gmail.com. So through there you can.
Had to make
we'll
it
get back
complicated,
to you.
huh?
You can also message to us on our social media too. We'll get to you there. And hey, just even there's a couple times a week. You know, even tonight we were just recording some or streaming some of our esports stuff on our
That's
YouTube.
right.
So you could check that out and watch us do some racing with our buddies. And maybe even you can, if you're in iRacing, maybe you can even hop along.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we do sometimes in our spare time. We try to do some endurance races. You know, we competed in the 24 Hours of Daytona. This year we did Sebring, and we're looking at Watkins and a few others. So
The
you can
6
definitely...
hours of CTMP. We did
fun.
that. Oh man. Which honestly, that's what helped me actually really feel one with, especially down in corner 8. It's like, I know this turn.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
Where you
spent
were
many
out.
a time racing on my iRacing days. In my iRacing
Yeah, you
days
spent
at CTMP.
you spent a lot of time there this weekend, which was nice because we haven't been there in a while. And I guess the only ways we could get there during the pandemic was iRacing.
Right. Yeah, and it's really cool to build. Well, you know, and to even just have the opportunity to go down to the track again, and thanking everyone out at NASCAR, Pinty, CTMP, and anyone else, actually, the people at the track and whatnot. I gotta actually just give them some thanks real quick too. But for us to be able to come out there again for after just a couple of years. It's so
Yep.
cool. So yeah,
And
it's
second race of the Pinty season too, which is pretty cool. I was at Sunset, and you and Pepe got to cover this one, so that's great.
yeah, for us in Canada, it being a holiday, Victoria Day weekend, and down in the States, that's Memorial Day.
Next weekend.
That okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a long weekend for us. Typically in Canada, people will go down to their cottages, or they'll do something. They'll
Which
go
I
to.
did.
There's some Jays games in Toronto. There's lots of stuff going on here and there, touristy things opening back up. Obviously, and it was so weird because even just being at the track, other than maybe once, you didn't even think about it about the pandemic, which was actually. I didn't realize that until just recently. It was interesting how that I thought about that. It's like, wow, like a lot of people showed up for sure on the Saturday, and I think a lot of people wanted to go see some racing and also enjoy a nice day out in beautiful CTMP.
Yeah, for sure.
Out in Bowmanville, it was absolutely beautiful. The weather on Saturday, just to begin with, it was looking like to be a good one.
Yeah, and weather at that track is always interesting, and actually, and we're going to get into it in a little bit. It's interesting how typically on our May long weekend we do not have nice weather. It's always kind of the running joke about our long weekends and bad weather.
CTMP
Well,
triangle.
so the weather also affected my racing plans for the weekend. Last
And
podcast we talked.
just kind of how it did it with me with round one.
Yeah, I was gonna go to. I spoke. We was gonna go to Full Throttle Motor Speedway, Varney, this past weekend with my kids, but Mother Nature said no, Scotty, no racing.
How about
And
no, Scott?
they moved it. They did, however, move it to
We'll
the
just
Sunday.
say we did.
They moved it to the Sunday, but we did not end up going. I actually don't know if they canceled it again because we did get rain Sunday morning, but it was quite cool, and I know what it's like to sit beside a cold racetrack, and I was pretty sure my children did not want to go do that. So we stayed at the trailer, but I got to follow along with the action at the track through you and other social media stuff. I also got to sit and listen to the Xfinity Series race at Texas, which happened this weekend as well, which was a really good race. And at the moment, for some reason, I can't remember who won the race. And I listened to it. That's funny. Well, that's how you know we're real. I can't remember who won the race, but it was a good race to listen to.
It was Tyler Reddick.
That's right.
Number
How
48.
could I forget that? That's right. Yeah.
The last time a Cup driver won in a supporting series, they went on to win that race. So things were looking good for Reddick.
They were looking good for Reddick. If you follow that trend of William Byron doing it earlier in the HendrickCars.com truck at Martinsville. So, that was what happened, and they had the All-Star race, which was terrible. There's just no other way of putting it. A lot of stuff went down. A lot of stuff happened.
There was
controversy.
a few series there too. Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, for the Cup race.
In the
sorry,
Cup race, for the All-Star race. Trucks weren't a bad race. The Xfinity was a good race. There were quite a few cautions. Texas is a tricky track for those cars.
But that had its own controversy within itself, and
of course,
Jeff Burton definitely had his own. We'll get to that too. What happened?
We'll talk a little bit about that later.
But
so what we're trying to do, we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to try to go through some of our key points for this weekend, actually, of racing. In particular, we're going to cover the Pinty Series.
There was a lot that happened at CTMP this weekend, but we were able to focus on the Pinty Series. There was lots of action. FEL Sports Car Championship presented by Michelin, the M Zone Radical Cup, which
Yep.
is freaking awesome to watch.
Yeah,
The
those cars are
Nissan
really
Sentra
cool.
Cup and the Super Production Challenge. And a lot of those
Right.
series, just like the Pinty series, were affected by the weather, which we'll get to here.
Yeah.
But we were able to focus on the Pinty series and some of our points here. This is a
Yeah,
new
so let's
segment,
start.
Wallace. This is
Let's pick up
hot topics here.
hot topics. So let's talk about the first thing that happened for these guys in practice. And we saw some cars do no laps or very little. I'm looking here
I
and we're
almost
talking
thought it,
about
yeah,
straight laps of
because
it.
yeah, right, yeah.
He did two. Kevin
It's like,
Lacroix,
is
the
this a
eventual
glitch
winner.
on the website?
I know, right? It's weird. It's really weird.
MyLaps.com, are
Kevin
you
Lacroix,
glitching?
he got three. There's some other drivers here, but then there's a couple of drivers with some a lot of laps. You have Sam Fellows here with 26 laps, the most. The next closest in laps was 19 laps, and that was Brian Cathcart and Glenn Stiers. So
So these guys, so some of these guys must have used up as much of that session as they could.
I'm sure, and then it's
Like
interesting how
they used up all that time.
some of these guys were just that comfortable. I would assume that of any of these drivers, Sam would be very familiar with this track. But he wanted to put the laps in. I wonder partially later on we'll talk about him not even really doing too much in the race, not finishing the race due to vibration is what it says. So I wonder if him putting in 26 laps, half the race in practice, if that contributed to him not finishing the race. Anything, practice was. Yeah, it's weird. Trayton, like you look at a guy like Trayton, he put in 2 laps. Unfortunately, he put it into the tire barrier somewhere along the track. I'm not sure what happened to Trayton, but did 2 laps and was second fastest, and nobody could get quicker than him.
Yeah. Also in practice, as you would expect, you want to kind of give a bit of a you want to include some other guys. Like I like to include other guys kind of outside the top 5, just on the cusp. Alex Tagliani.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know he's good there. DJ Kennington, Kevin Lacroix, Ranger around off the top 10. The guys we know they're good there, but Matthew Skinnell, up in there as well, and Marc Antoine Cameron to come back after last week. It's with what it looked like so far in practice, a good showing for him. He had within the laps he ran, he showed some speed. A lot of guys, and I'm guessing so. Within the Pinty series, within a lot of the stuff that's been going on lately, especially with limiting pit stops to help save costs within the crew and with obviously equipment and with tires and gas. So when we look at these lap numbers and people not using as much time as most other drivers in these practice sessions, that's what I think there's a good chance that some guys maybe were saving stuff. Maybe someone saw on the radar what was coming and was like, hey, just imagine everyone was like, I wonder if they'll cancel out qualifying, put it to the practice.
Well,
sessions.
that's right.
But that's a crazy. That's
done.
A crazy. That's probably not. It definitely would happen. Not what happened. That was a crazy. You never know, right? But yeah, it was definitely some guys using it up, some guys not using it up.
Well, and then maybe that's just some guys who are incredibly comfortable or confident in their road racing or in their car. Maybe this is just me throwing this out there because I don't know. Maybe some of these guys figured, they did a couple laps. The car's not going to get any better. The track's going to be really, really different come later on in the afternoon or for the race. Some of these guys are working off old notebooks, right? These cars haven't changed in quite a few years, right? So if you look at guys who've been crew chiefing for a while or drivers, it's it's probably going to be pretty much the
It
same
fits
as it
like a
was
good
last
glove.
year and
Like
the year
sometimes it
before and the
fits
year
right.
before,
Yeah.
right? So why 22
Right.
Racing knows how to weld, right? So they don't need to do more than two. Drayton doesn't need to do more than 2 laps. That's a bad example because he stuffed it in the wall. But my point is that some of these guys maybe didn't do so many laps because they just don't need to risk it. And if you're practicing on a track that's not going to be like it's going to be when the race comes, you're really not doing yourself any justice, right? The guys know the track, right? They know the layout, they know how it flows, they know their breaking points. It's the surface and what it feels like.
Right.
I would
Yeah.
assume maybe I don't really know, you know. Somebody's probably listening going, "You're an idiot. That's not why that's like that." But, you know, and what we didn't realize, moving on to hot topic number 2, what we
Is
didn't realize is that this practice result would
came
inevitably be the starting order because of the weather, because no qualifying.
so yeah. I mean, in what was a storm that started in apparently it started somewhere in like Michigan, and
Wow.
it's slowly picked up. It's called a derecho, and it's slowly picked up. It's basically a cluster truck of thunderstorms all at once, and it will sweep through the lands, so to say. And that was like there was millions of Canadians that were hit with this, and there's actually, unfortunately, there is a high death toll on it. 10 people as of a recording now. Lots of people without power, millions of dollars with damage.
And our
So
condolences definitely go out
yeah,
to
for sure,
anybody
to the people
who's
affected
experienced a loss
and
for that.
and that and with 100 kilometer to 130 kilometer an hour winds, which for Americans, I'm not sure what that is in freedom units, but it's definitely comparable to a tornado or a category 1 or 2 hurricane. And I've never lived in anything like that before, especially out in the. We were just setting up camp, and caught a couple laps of practice. But yeah, it was definitely something that hit the track all over. We'll have some pictures up on our social media and videos up as well. Check it out at the WWMS Facebook. But we have tons of footage of what the paddock looked like. A lot of people, like the teams, they're, especially those other series that were running, like FEL and Radical and Nissan Sentra and the Super Production Challenge. Those guys, a lot of their, and in Pinty's, a lot of stuff went just flying. People's equipment,
Yeah,
their setups. Like a
yeah.
lot of people were affected by this, and some people, like a lot of stuff was destroyed. Um,
And then and I'm not trying to you know say how take what you went through, but I mean Mosport has been known
to
to
have
not to
yeah, to
freak
have
anybody out,
right.
but it has been known
It's
to
been rough,
experience some weather.
and I've
You know
I've
there
seen
was
it too. Rough a few years ago, like
Yeah, no,
like
I actually, so a quick little sidebar story. I was there with my father-in-law. We go for IMSA weekend, which you're coming. I'm super pumped for this year. Anyways, so we kind of camp in this little horseshoe thing. We had our camper and the other RVs. Anyways, we can see the storm coming in. We can feel it. I go to my father-in-law. I say, let me change my shoes because it started to rain. We're going to wrap everything up. I go inside, take my shoes off. I'm not inside 30 seconds. I hear
it
him
just happened
yelling.
right away.
I come out. He's holding onto the awning. I'm outside for a minute. I'm complete. It's like I jumped in a lake. So, anyways, my point is that yeah, Mosport has its own weather
But
system.
this was something completely. This was a
This is
freak
it's
storm.
that's
More than
never been there
250
before.
miles or 400 kilometers. It spanned through, um, and yeah, like this was like from where I live in Kitchener to where I was in Mosport. Um, that it was like that's a 2.5 hour drive, and it went all the way to Ottawa. That's an 8 hour. That's about 8 9 hour drive. of driving. So like, just so people
Yeah.
can understand the distance of this in that sense, pretty long. But
Well,
yeah,
I
nothing to
felt
freak
we
people out
felt
about. It was a freak storm.
no, it just it
It
happens. It's
was
weather.
yeah,
I
it's
mean,
weather.
I felt
Nothing
we
new
got
at
hit with the tail
CTMP,
end of it. We got hit with a
right?
piece of it, and I was over in Hanover, and that's about 3:45 away from the track.
Apparently, some
So,
parts of it went all the way to Maine, and we actually apparently do have listeners in Maine. So
well,
thoughts to everybody in the path of that. But yeah, like crazy stuff, and it's set up for the next day. That's for sure. It was
yeah,
still a little damp going to the next day. You know, I love racing in the rain though, and it was always good to see that for our going into our topic number 3.
the race.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so like I said before, our starting order was set by practice. So we had LP Dumoulin on the front row, the champ in the 47 WeatherTech Dodge. We had young Trayton Lapsevich in the 22 Racing number 20 Chevrolet. In second, we had Marc Antoine Cameron, who did win there last year, remember, in the second race. So no surprise that he was up there in the number
With the
96
new team.
GM Paillet.
Yeah, absolute
So that's
awesome showing.
fantastic. So that's a good strong showing. I know they had some stuff going on. I mean, he got a podium at Sunset, but that's great for him. Fourth place Brett Taylor, fantastic, and fifth place, Matthew Scannell. So that's how they were going to start. They started in wet conditions, right? It was a little damp. There was some
Yeah, we got
spray,
some
raining
photos of
conditions.
it. There was rooster tails at one. It
Right.
started a little damp, and then it caught even more damp.
Well,
I
you were
had
there,
the
so
I
how about you
had
give
the
us a little rundown of the
I
race
had
and how it worked out?
I had the poncho on, walking around watching the race, and yeah, it. And I also was able to able to catch a lot,
Yep.
and it was a good first round for first road course race to kind of set it up for the other road course races. And it's some things to start to look off with, obviously, with LP and Mac up there, and Scannell, as we had mentioned. Those guys were running good up at the top, but it ended up coming kind of down to Mac, LP, Ranger, Lacroix, and Tag in the top 5 in the start. Dexter Stacy, Brandon Watson, and Gary Clute, some other notable mentions
And Andrew
running up through
Ranger,
the field.
Andrew, no stranger to the front of
Right.
CTMP. He's won there before.
And he was showing it up
Um,
for GM
Yep.
Pie for both of those guys coming up there, and he had an awesome run, Ranger. But unfortunately, he had to pull.
He had an awesome run going.
Yeah, and until the mechanical failure,
Yeah.
which was real fortunate to see that happen for him. That was an oil
Yeah.
leak.
What did they give a
It was for an oil leak
oil
that Andrew
leak?
had an issue, so he had to go
Yeah.
behind the wall.
Real
Which,
unfortunate.
yeah, I'm sure he'll get it back, and we'll see if he gets a little bit of redemption on the Labor Day weekend for the next round, and we'll see him probably get some redemption
Yeah.
at some other road courses too. Sam Fellows as well, another uh, racer who now full timer and favorite at CTMP with mechanical
Mhm.
issue.
Right, and we spoke about that,
For
wondering,
he had a
if
vibration, a
maybe
lot
that
of stuff going
maybe
on.
he hit a lot of running during practice, if that contributed to his vibration for that,
Because
which is
he's no
unfortunate.
stranger. He doesn't need to learn his line. He's probably always learning something. I'm sure, but he's no stranger to CTMP. So
Definitely no stranger there.
I'm sure
Definitely
it
no
was
stranger.
the car was apparently the stranger to
And a little
to the
shout out,
track.
Mike Curb is his car owner there, Curb Records.
That's
No
real
stranger
cool.
to the racing world. I recognize that name, and I'm pretty. He sponsored some IMSA stuff. Been in quite big
It's a huge
in racing
sponsorship,
for a lot of
yeah.
years, so that's great to see
And he
him
had a
back and
good
supporting a
looking car,
Canadian.
good looking livery.
Yep, yep, that's
He'll
great.
have it fast. I'm sure he'll be running around there fast in the fall at Labor Day too. Another guy
Yeah.
that probably looking for some little bit of redemption.
Yep.
The so it was a lot of hard racing, adapting to the track, getting used to the,
Changeable conditions. Yeah.
you start to look into setting up how the pit stops are going, and you start to kind of see the field stretch out, and you start to see who it's going to come down to, and it really took it until at halfway. There's a lot of talk. It was like, wow, for the conditions considering, there was no caution, so it was interesting to see a lot of just hard racing, and Lacroix and LP, doing some pitting strategy. Gary Clute, Tag, Mac to round off the top 5 at that point. And on lap 46, Mac slowing down in Moss. You said on Twitter, I wasn't down in Moss, so I wasn't able to see the tire down. But you said you saw on Twitter that there was
left rear flat tire.
Left rear flat tire for him. He was slowed down in Moss.
So that's what it showed. I don't know what else was going on. I don't know if something else broke, but
he couldn't get it started for whatever reason. But he was dead stop. NASCAR gave it a couple laps to let him get going, but was unable to. The first yellow of the race was on lap 47, and this changed everything for these racers.
Almost all the way.
Almost. Under the yellow, more even bad news. LP was also stationary in turn 5. He was having problems trying to refire as well, which, again, another real unfortunate thing to see. And this put them into the first NASCAR overtime attempt. Tag tried his best to get by. He was up there. However, wreck with the 8 and the 47 in turn 3 gave Tag and Gary another chance at it. On the second overtime attempt, Lacroix pulled up front with a mirror full of Gary. Gary was, eventually he took the lead and was laying down some of his fastest laps as well.
Good move.
But he was just isn't fast enough for Lacroix. On the final lap in Moss, the 74 was able to gain some real estate, and he was able to open up the door a bit throughout 8 to 10.
It was impressive, can I say, to see. So watching that last lap, Gary is quicker than Kevin from start finish all the way to about the Canadian Tire Bridge, and then he just started kind of getting. Kevin's right there, and I wonder if that toe, because they're going uphill up that back straightaway. I'm wondering if that draft. Well, I know it does make a difference, but it must make that much of a difference that Kevin was just carrying so much speed into 8 that
there's a chance too. Gary could have been, also at this point too. You're running maybe. You run real fast on a certain part of the lap, and then the other half of your lap you're not as fast.
That's true.
You chose. Gary. It's like that's where Gary chose to run the fast part of his lap was the beginning. That's the kind of horse he is.
Or that's where he was the fastest.
And then Tag was able, Lacroix was able. Tag was able to sneak by with the second, and then. Dexter with the third, and then seeing Gary still salvage a fourth. But Tag.
Yeah, they came in. Yeah, Gary kind of was a little bit slower than Kevin coming into the last little section there.
But we heard from them after the race.
Yeah, we did get to hear from the top 3 after Kevin made an interesting move, which we're going to talk about afterwards for sure, about the move between Kevin and Gary, which led to Kevin winning the race, Alex Tagliani second, and Dexter Stacey, first time to get a podium. He gets it here, which is fantastic. I'm so happy for him and so happy for that team. So we're going to get to hear from the top 3. Very interesting. It was very interesting to hear Dexter, even Tag, go through his day and what he experienced. I think maybe he was a little bit surprised that they got there, but they, that's a good. Tag showed and the team showed what perseverance does and where it will get you. And of course you're going to get to hear from Kevin and his thoughts on the move.
An awesome interview with him, yeah, and
his move between him and Gary. So. Let's hear what the 3 have to say, and then yes, you got to catch up with Kevin afterwards too.
I feel like we got 2 Kevins there. in the press conference and in the interview. So listen closely, folks. Just hear him out, and let's listen to it here.
And third place finisher, a career best finish of third in the NASCAR Pinty Series for Dexter Stacy. Dexter, we'll start with you. Talk about your day today.
I mean, yesterday we struggled in practice, and then today just everything worked in our favor. With the rain and everything, I was a little nervous at first to go out there, but then after the car turned, and they handled it actually very well. It just came alive and just kept going.
I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, because what is it about drivers from Kanawaki? I remember when we had a wicked rainy day in Three Rivers, Trois-Rivières, and Derek White went out there, and people wondered who was driving the car because he did so well. What happens in Kanawaki that makes you guys so good?
Just the ice racing. The ice racing is the biggest factor for us.
Alex Tagliani, second place finish. You were right in the mix at the end. Talk about your day. Actually, do you want me to come back to you?
No, that's good. Yeah, so we started the race. The first 3 laps, we made some position. I thought the car was quite good. And then fairly quick, I lost the balance. I think on the brakes, we were not that great. And so I dialed some front brakes. It was okay, but it was sketchy. So I just kind of like lay back a little bit. Just I was expecting to see some yellow at some point, and I didn't want to risk it. I thought it was too much on the edge to push at that point. So I was trying all kinds of things inside the car and with the line. And later on in the race, we came into the pits, we put the slicks, and then one of the hoses got stuck under the car. We dropped it and basically landed on a hose, so we got a drive-through penalty. Came into the pits, and then drive-through, lost a bunch of position, drove back, and then I was monitoring the lap from Kevin and Clute. So we got in front of Clute, and then I caught some traffic, and Gary got by. And then on the first to last restart, I went on the outside. I got a good fight with Kevin all the way to turn 3. And then Gary took advantage out of turn 3 and then going to 4. Got back to 3rd. And then the last restart, Gary maintained his position. And I thought that, I was surprised he went for it. That's what I was saying to Kevin. Because then when you're the leader in the last 3 corners of the track, you're kind of a sitting duck. And then I just watched and I saw the position behind. I got a rundown of who it was. So I didn't see any contenders in the championship. So I just wanted to play it safe and come out with some points.
Kevin Lacroix, Alex talks about playing it safe. That's not something we're familiar with in your driving style over the years. So talk us through your day.
Well, first I liked what Alex said at the end is he was surprised why he was surprised why Gary got by me, on the lap before the last lap. How do you call it? The second last lap.
You call it an ultimate lap, but the second last lap.
Yeah, so he was surprised, but from my point of view, it's when I won here in 2019 against Andrew. It's we had an history here before, and still I thought I was faster. I got by him on the second last lap, and I was confident because no matter if I'm leading or second, doesn't change my driving. So if I'm faster, I'm faster. I'll get by him whenever I can. And that's different for him because obviously he was way faster than me, and then he just struggled the whole last lap. So if you don't belong there, move out of there. That's my thinking. It's if you can't win, I won't slow down so much that Alex spins me out because I gotta watch my back too. And he slowed down that much in corner 8, 9, 10 that I had nowhere to go really. I tried inside, outside, and so that's my point of view. But for me, I think that's first for fans. That's it. That makes a good show. And 2, really, when I was entering the last lap, I didn't want to end like this because it opens the door for different interpretation. Is that a good word?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I better win like I was leading by 15 seconds earlier in the race. I like to win like that, but right now, if I get in front of Gary and we go at a table together, I'm very confident by myself with the end because I had nowhere to go. He slowed down too much, so move out of there. And I'm just curious to see what James Jordan's gonna say about it, but tomorrow. But yeah. Anyways, so but I'm very good with it.
Talk about turn 9, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember a lot of winning moves happening in turn 9. I remember them being set up. Turn 10 is the spot where you'll usually solidify the move. But
and exactly, and that's what I that's why I'm feeling so confident about it. Is my move. Every car I pass, I always put myself in position to be in a good place for corner 10. And close your ear. Don't listen to my strategies, but no. So that's always what I do. And for me to try a move in corner 9, it's just because I had nowhere else to go, really.
Let's open the floor to questions.
Pretty quiet without doors. It was all very clear.
Yeah, it was. All right, that will conclude our media conference. I'm sure the drivers will remain available to you, but well said, gentlemen. Good race today.
Thank you very much.
Hey, here in the media center, been a couple years since I've been talking with the king of CTMP, Kevin Lacroix. 6th win today. Congrats. Tell us a little bit about this weekend. Recap it for us for the 74.
It started very tough. We broke the transmission in practice after 2 laps. So I was kind of worried about our spare transmission since they were built at the same time with the same person, same gears. So I was afraid it would break also in the race. But we were lucky enough to have start with the 8th place with our practice time and on the rain. Always confident on the rain. So for me, like it's almost a guaranteed win when it's raining. But for sure at the end it was drying up. So. Bringing a little more challenge for sure, but the car was good all race long for sure. In the rain, it's never good. Car is never perfect in the rain. It's always difficult, but when it was drying, I was happy to see that the car was going quite well.
Right. So there's a couple restarts during this race. You got a mirror full of a couple times. You got LP in your mirror once. You had Gary Clute back in there as well. You got a couple different names in the field, racing around a couple new guys like Matthew Skinnell, Brandon Watson. What's it like racing with some other names?
Well, that's why I'm here, racing here. I had a past in my racing career, and then I ended it. I took a break or retired from racing, and. We have a family business. I got all my time there. And then we saw the NASCAR Pinty series and Andrew Ranger Tagliani at Kennington and all, good names, big names that are really good. And we thought I thought it was a good idea to come here and race with these guys because it's, you don't want to go in a series and win every races, it becomes boring. So you need to find competition and it's nice to have that competition here. It's so hard. Ovals, dirt tracks, road racing, street racing, and big names like Tagliani's been the fastest man 1 year in the Indy. So it's
right.
That was a dream for me in IndyCar. So coming here and race with him and Ranger is always being good for Quebecers and take Kennington, and now there's Watson has been winning every races in other series. So I'm kind of see him come, and it's stressing a little bit, but it keeps you on the edge, and even though I'm young, I'm getting older, and
right.
and I'm losing the edge sometimes. I feel so. These guys help me keep it on the edge.
Well, you still no doubt got the edge. Would you ever consider dipping your toes in, say, the APC series once in a while?
No, because I don't like to lose, and as a team, we don't have any knowledge in these cars. Even my crew chief, Don Thompson, he's been in CASCAR and NASCAR Pinties all his life, so he's got good knowledge. But going in another series where we don't have any knowledge of different cars, I don't want.
Right.
So that's why we keep it, in NASCAR Pinties.
Right. So let's do a quick little recap here on that final restart. What's some of the things going through your mind? You had a couple of guys there had a little bit of an edge on you in a couple different turns, but you ultimately had the better advantage there. Tell us what some of the things go in your mind in that last restart.
Well, to begin with the restart, when the track got drier and drier, these guys at the back, they were battling with each other and always keeping themselves on the edge and finding the new limit on the drying racetrack. Where I was leading by 15 seconds, they didn't want to take any risk, but also it's good, so you don't take risk. You keep yourself safe for the win. But then when the yellow comes out and you lose all your lead, you've never been on the edge of that new track, So I was kind of afraid. I'm the leader. I have to show the way. And what speed do I get in corner 1, 2, 3? Those guys, they know how to get fast there because they've been battling. So I was kind of afraid there. So that's why when Gary got by me, I kind of followed him for a lap and a half, and find that new limit where we can brake, turn, gas, and the new race line and everything. So yeah, for sure I was afraid to lose also the win because earlier in the race we spun out with Peter Kloot while I was lapping in, and we kind of bent the front wheels. So for sure on a super very dry track, the car was not perfect. So seeing the track dry that much near the end, I was afraid, more and more afraid of I would lose speed because the wheels were not straight anymore.
Right. Yeah, and it was an absolutely entertaining finish. You talk about finding that edge on the competitors, and we saw there just over in the turn here, in turn 10 here, you and Gary there, you made the pass on him. It looked like he had the door a little. You said he was a little slow. He had the door open a little bit. You got in there. You did what you had to do to win that race.
Yeah, well, but from your point of view, you don't really see, I think, corner 8, but right. You see the entry of 9 and 10. But yeah, from my point of view, really, I don't like to win a race that way because it opens the door for different people, different thinking, and different interpretation. But so it's a tough call. When I entered the last lap, I told myself I need to find a way around clean, and I don't want to. I've never had that issue with Gary in the past, so I don't want to get a new unfriend. I don't know how to say that. Yeah. Enemy. So. Frenemy. Yeah, so I didn't want to get there, but when still he slowed down that much that in corner 9, corner 8, I tried to do the inside. He blocked me. I'm like, okay, he's the leader, he can do it. And then I tried to move outside, and it's normally it's a so fast corner that you cannot change lane. Right. But at that speed, we were so slow that I was able to change lane and try to dive on the inside on 9. And good move. Yeah, it was a good move, and we got there tight, and we banged doors, and then it's like I need to watch my back too. We were going so slow. There's people behind us that can spin me, so I don't want to get spinned. Tag there, yeah. Yeah, so that's why I drove my ass there. I went on the limit, and the door banged, and it's like you slowed down. You were too focused on the mirror, so right. Too bad for you. And I'm going for the win. Exactly.
And for us fans and all of that in the media and for the sport, it's fantastic. And a real racer like you being able to put on a show for the fans here. And I'm gonna have to safely say the new king of CTMP, Kevin Lacroix.
Yeah, well, thank you. I think we just have a good car here, but yeah. So king of the rain maybe, but not king of CTMP. There's good drivers.
All right, Kev, good luck to you on the rest of your season. We'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you.
So that was the top 3, Kevin Lacroix, Alex Tagliani, and Dexter Stacy, and then we got to hear a little bit more from the winner. And of course, I think hot topic number 4 definitely has to be, bump and run. You and I have been going back and forth on this and how we feel. I don't think you or I are upset with what happened. I don't think you or I think that one of us feels there was a bump and run. One of us feels that there was a little door left open, a little baiting, a little I'm going to hold it.
It's a good 4th topic here. Was that a bump and run or not?
I have strong. You go first. I have some strong feelings. We're definitely not arguing. I don't want
Well, from being on ground, and I walked.
You were there.
What's
That's right.
unique
You go
about
first.
CTMP is you can walk the track. So, Pepe and I,
Right.
we walked the track after. The video will be
One of my
posted
favorite
up.
things to do, by the way.
Right, and a lot of people did that too. But so we will post the video up too. You know, I'm not a insurance. I never worked for an insurance company or anything, but I tried to analyze the wreck as best as I could, and especially I was looking right at the move as it happened from the media center, and also hearing the reaction from it, and so I was able to get a lot of sides from that, and it looked like, and it just, especially when we looked over the replay a few times, and as what you and I know, and I'm sure a lot of people that are familiar with racing at CTMP and iRacing in real life, is that when you're driving in that when you're going into 10 and you're kind of coming out of 9, you get that little bit of that straight there, and there is some room where you can find a lane, and there's, you know, if I see a guy coming up, I'm gonna try to get that arc. I'm gonna try to widen it a little bit, or I'm gonna try to, you know, keep the wheel straight, or you know. And then Kevin, he saw a move going in there, as he said. He saw a path going, and he, as anyone who wants to get a point or get a win, you're going to take a path to get there. And that's what both of those guys are doing. They saw it, and they both went for it. And it, you know, and we see, when you see something like that in any sport or any competition, one person ends up getting the short end of the stick, and you hate to see Gary get the short end of the stick,
Of
whether
course.
it was intentional, it wasn't even an intentional thing or not, as a debate. That's out of question, in my opinion. It's just, that's just the way it went down. You hate to see
Right.
it. It's one of those things you hate to see it, right?
Yeah.
You know, who wouldn't love to see them just have a drag race to the finish? But that's just the way she goes. Both guys going for the win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was good, and that's why we went there. That's why people go there to that's why people go to CTMP to watch those epic finishes.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think that was kind of just set itself up to be that. I mean, if Gary didn't think that there was going to be contact, I would say that Gary was a little naive. And if Kevin thought that there wasn't possibility of contact going into that little section, then he was naive as well. I mean, Kevin said he was quicker and get out of my way and quick. So my feeling towards that
And
is
Gary's defending his position. He's defending
Gary's
his
defending
win.
his position, and neither of them did anything wrong. Neither of them did it.
Right.
And like you said, it's unfortunate to see what happened with Gary. I am happy that Gary didn't finish last. I know we've been seeing that a lot in the Cup Series, where guys are not bumping and running; they're dumping and making these guys finish last, or they're last on the lead lap. So at least Gary salvaged a fourth. I'm not saying that's great, but I'm just, at least he didn't finish last. What I feel about this type of racing, where this is acceptable, is kind of, that's how we're set up. It's set up.
This
now,
is an F1,
right?
you know, like
These guys are out
This
here
isn't
to
IMSA.
win races. Kevin, his sponsors don't care if he's best friends with everybody on the grid and finishing last. They want him to win, and he's going to do everything to win.
and the stewards aren't going to bring them down, or
But that flip side to Gary. Gary's sponsors pay Gary to win, not be best friends. So Kevin's going to push it for the spot to win the race, and Gary's going to defend. And they just, it's like an immovable object meets an unstoppable force. And we got to see a fantastic, like a crazy finish, and we got to see, Dexter Stacey get his podium. So I'm not upset with any of this. We saw it at sunset. Guys got into each other.
I'm sure
This is no
Gary's
different.
upset
This
with
is no
it,
different.
and you feel for the guy, and I'm sure he'll tell you, I'm not saying he was defending his position. I'm just saying, if you're in the lead, you're going to look and you're going to try your best to keep it in any
Yeah, of
competition,
course.
whether
There's
it's in
nothing-
real
yeah.
life or not. If you're fighting for your job or anything, we got to all relate to that and go, hey, both these guys are trying to be successful, and they're going for the win, and that's
One of my
You have
favorite-
to love seeing that. You have to.
One of my favorite quotes is from a guy. He was a director at Audi Racing, and he was on the Mazda program. Ralph Yutner, he was at Yost Racing, and there was an incident that happened with the cars one time, and all he said was racing, and that's what it
Right.
was. So there's nothing wrong with that. But
No, real quick.
moving on from that,
You got a couple
we're gonna
minutes
leave
here for
that because
or who impressed
we're-
us here
yeah, I'm okay with. It was a great race.
for our final topic, fifth and
Time to
final
move on.
topic.
Who impressed you?
Um,
Who was the big?
Gonna
who
just
impressed you the
throw it back
most?
to Gary again. Because we know he's won there before. He won there in, I think it went to say 2017. 2015, sorry, he won there in 2015, where he did run a full season, and you always got to consider Gary a good front runner there at CTMP.
Mhm.
We know he's good there. We know he shows consistency there, and he certainly did again in this race. And seeing him just kind of one of those guys that you don't always think that will be up there, and he found his way up there. But what about another guy that you didn't think would be up there at all?
Well, for me, the person who impressed me the most was Brandon Watson.
Yeah,
No road course experience. I would love to talk to Brandon and ask him how he prepared for this. I mean, Brandon's a great driver. There's no doubt about it. He raced down in the States. He's raced up here a lot. He's no stranger to oval racing or short track racing. So for him to come out and finish eighth, he
still pretty damn good for a guy that
yeah, I know. He
tears up
started
the local short
he
track
started
stuff,
15th.
right?
He started
So
15th.
he had,
so to
he
finish
had some
8th
digging.
is really impressive.
That's a good amount of positions. That's a lot
Yeah,
of positions
so-
at a road course. For any racing series, I think, right? Like, come on, like,
Yep.
give the guy some props here. So yeah, this
So all in all, this was a good race.
a lot of stuff to take away
enjoyed-
from it. That's for sure.
Yeah, lots of
Show the airs
the
next.
The teams went 1-2 week, one after another, so they got a little bit of a break. I think June 11th is their next race at Chaudière, so that'll be good. It'll be great.
Yeah,
of
June
course.
11th. It'll be on the. You check out the NASCAR Pinty Series website, and there will be a race center link there, and it'll give you, if you're American or Canadian, it'll say U.S. Canada, and it's that simple. Check it out there. Check it out on our social media page at the WWOMS as well, and we'll talk
Mhm.
about it. I'm sure we'll have. Well, that's a couple weeks from now, right? We'll have obviously lots of other racing to talk about in the next couple of weeks as well.
Well, yeah, we have some big racing coming up
Big
this
stuff.
weekend, which
8500.
would yeah,
Oh,
8500.
yeah.
So exciting.
Oh,
Jimmy's
yeah.
doing really good. He's looking good. There is a chance for Jimmy to be the second person in history to ever win the Daytona 500 and Indy 500.
Be crazy.
And I am
That'd
so
be crazy
excited.
talk. Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just would Jimmy be? We got a little bit of time. Let's talk about Jimmy and what's a successful Indy 500 for Jimmy?
Anything better where he starts. So if he can at least just stay where he started, maybe gain a couple spots, fight a hard race. I'm sure that's there'd be some good takeaways from that, but ultimately a win would be the big cheese.
Well, I mean, of course, you don't go into the Indy 500 going, I'm only here to finish 10th.
Right, you
No,
go there to
everybody
win.
definitely you go there to win.
Well, it's
So-
a big weekend
so
also.
Jimmy- Where's Jimmy starting? Jimmy is starting in 12th, which is really impressive.
He's got some
because-
ground to gain, and it'll be good. I'm excited to watch. We'll have
And then we
that.
have the 600.
It's the 600 and the Monaco. So a lot
Monaco
of
Grand
stuff
Prix.
coming up. We'll have it covered at the WWOMS. We'll have that up on our Facebook, or we'll maybe even do a live stream or something special for it. It is the trifecta of racing, Wallace.
I know. I live for this every year. There's lots of things that I live for. When
The
I
Indy
come to
500 is
racing.
the big one, though, for me with
Indy
Jimmy.
500. There's something different about the Indy 500. There's something special, like as that one-off. It's special, and
Of
I
course.
just respect its heritage and its history.
And everything at the
And I
same
get
time
the
of the day.
fuzzies.
You get the
You know, I get-
600 on.
Yeah.
We're hoping to see, some normalcy after this past weekend
Mhm.
for that, believe it or not, for the 600, and then Monaco, as well on the 29th. And
That'll be interesting.
always love to see Monaco as well. It's a classic weekend, and I always love having the trifecta edition of the WOMS podcast. So that'll be on your favorite streaming services next week.
Mhm.
On Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, you name it, it'll be there.
CFMH 107.3
Live
local
on the FM, 1 p.m. on Saturdays in St.
Yeah.
John. On
and
local
CKMS
FM there. Yep.
102.7 Radio Waterloo.
Monthly in Radio Waterloo, and on the PMN app, Performance Motorsports Network.
Yes.
You just download that app, put it on your phone, favorite it on your website. Pull it, have that up on your home screen.
Thank you to them.
Also,
And
put
the
on
boys
the Wide
and I,
World
we
of.
got to thank the boys and I for our
Oh
awesome
yeah, we
intro.
gotta thank them more. Yeah, and then also check out our website, the Wide World of Motorsports podcast.wordpress.com. We can choose any website name or whatever. Maybe if we get or instead of talking about it, all of this, we could just talk about your favorite sponsor or whatever. Just send us an email at and it's so complicated. It's we could just talk about a sponsor all this time, but just send us an email, wideworldofmotorsports@gmail.com. It's that simple. Bada bing, bada boom. It's that easy. And we got some cool videos coming up on our YouTube and our Facebook
Yep.
page of the weekend.
Yeah, you got
and
some
other
great
stuff
shots.
as well. Cool video of an onboard cam
Yeah.
during that storm that we were talking about at CTMP, and lots more on our YouTube page, our esports stuff, and our iRacing stuff. So check that out. And also, quick thank my neighbors at CTMP, and obviously all the people and the track workers and the emergency workers and everybody
Definitely.
that came out in that situation, and in NASCAR and CTMP for having the Wide World of Motorsports at the event, and bringing the news to the track to the community. We'll see you around the bend, folks.
Adios.